Broken human finds alien girl chained in public. Her punishment shocks the galaxy. Cold rain fell on Orion's sprawl like broken glass. Neon lights flickered and died. Pipes hissed. Drones hummed far above the alleys. Jaxon Reed moved through it all with his head down and his jaw tight. He wore a cracked leather jacket and heavy boots. Under the jacket sat a small package wrapped in sealcloth. It pressed against his ribs like a fist. Rent was due in 2 days. His wallet was near empty. If he failed this job, he would lose his room and his peace and the little pride he had left. He kept to service tunnels and catwalks where the cameras were blind. He knew the patrol schedule by heart. He had learned it the hard way, with bruises and broken nights. Jaxon was human in a city that did not care for humans. He had once been a soldier. Now he was a courier who ran when told and kept his mouth shut. That was survival here. His comm buzzed. A harsh voice cut in. "Clock's running, Reed, 1 hour." Then silence. Jaxon turned into an old transit yard, now dead and flooded. Water pooled between cracked rails. A single flood lamp burned at the center, painting the rain in silver lines. He stepped over a fallen sign and stopped. There under the light stood an obsidian post driven into the concrete. Something was tied to it. At first he thought it was a broken advert doll. Then it moved. Jaxon's breath froze in his throat. It was a woman. Not human. Skin blue-silver, wet with rain. Hair like poured metal stuck to her cheeks. Faint glowing lines moved under her skin in slow waves like star maps underwater. Coarse reactive wire cut into her wrists and ankles. A slate hung from her neck. The top lines were alien script. Under it, someone had scrawled a blunt translation in "Trade claim at will." Jaxon felt heat rise in his face, even in the cold. He had seen cruel things in Orion's sprawl. This felt worse. This felt quiet and deliberate, like a lesson someone wanted others to learn. He checked the yard. No guards, no watchers he could see. The lamp buzzed. The rain hissed. The drones above kept their distance. He stepped closer. The woman flinched and tried to pull away, but the wire bit into her skin. He raised both hands to show they were empty. "It's okay," he said, voice low and steady. "I'm not here to hurt you." Her lips moved. No sound at first. Then a whisper. "Punished, Voidbrand, exiled, Voidbrand." He had heard the word in bars and back rooms. A mark for those thrown out by the Solari. A slow death sometimes, a public one always. His comm buzzed again. 35 minutes. He shut it off. The wire was simple hardware, not coded locks. He took out a short blade. His fingers shook, but not from fear. Rage did that. He cut one strand, then another. The wire snapped and sprang. The woman sagged forward. Jaxon caught her. She was light, too light and hot with fever. He slid off his jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders. The glow under her skin brightened where the fabric touched. He felt the heat through the jacket like a living ember. "What did they do to you?" he asked. He did not expect an answer. "Lesson," she said, eyes closed. "For all to see." Jaxon looked at the flood lamp and the empty yard and the slate. Yes. A lesson. Be cruel in public and call it order. He could walk away. He could make the drop, get paid, and keep his room. He could say he never saw anything. Many did, every day. That was how the city stayed the city. He lifted his head and watched the rain slide down the black post. He thought of other nights, other orders, other moments when he had chosen silence. Each choice had felt small. Together they felt heavy. "Not tonight," he said. He slid one arm under her knees and the other behind her back. She tensed, then relaxed, spent. He stood with a grunt and adjusted the jacket to cover her more. The package in his jacket pocket pressed hard against his chest. It said, "Mistake." It said, "Run." Jaxon turned away from the light and the slate and the post. He chose a shadowed path that ran behind the old refuel sheds. He moved fast but not loud. The rain hit his steps. Steam from a vent filled the alley and closed behind him like a curtain. Above, a patrol drone paused and listened. Its sensor logged a brief heat signature spike. A small red dot blinked on a distant screen. Then the drone drifted on. Jaxon did not look back. He kept his eyes on the dark ahead. The city whispered around him. Pipes clanged. Signs buzzed. Somewhere, far off, someone laughed and then coughed. He held the woman close and felt the faint rise and fall of her breath. "Stay with me," he said. Her eyes fluttered. For a heartbeat they opened fully. Deep, endless black set with pinpoints of light. as if she carried a piece of night inside her. She studied his face. A corner of her mouth lifted, not quite a smile. "Name," she breathed. "Jaxon," he said. "Jaxon Reed," she exhaled.
"Lyra." The rain softened for a moment as if the city itself listened.
Jaxon pulled the jacket tighter around her and pushed on. The hour he had been given bled away with each step. He knew there would be a price for this choice. He also knew he would pay it. The lights of Orion Sprawl flickered outside Jackson's cracked window like dying stars. Inside, the room smelled of rust, rain, and old metal. His place was barely bigger than a storage locker. One bed, one sink, one screen that no longer worked. He had lived worse, but not with someone else in the bed. The alien girl, Lyra, lay there, wrapped in his jacket, her faint glow pulsing under the fabric. The rhythm was strange, like a heartbeat that didn't follow human rules. Every few seconds it brightened, sending a ripple of light across her blue skin, then dimmed again, as if she were caught between life and something darker. Jaxon knelt beside her and touched her forehead. She burned like a furnace. He had seen men with fever on battlefield medships, but this was different. Her heat came with static in the air. His arm hair stood up. The faint hum of power filled the room. He muttered, "Damn it, what did they do to you?" Her eyes flickered open, black as space, speckled with distant lights. "Voidbrand," she whispered. "Toxin in blood. Slow burn," he frowned. "A poison?" She nodded weakly. "Made to teach pain, not death." "But it grows," Jaxon cursed under his breath. He reached for his comm, ready to call someone, anyone, but stopped. The moment her image hit a public mednet, security would flag it. She'd be dragged away before morning. Humans didn't question Solari punishments. They enforced them. He remembered the last job he took that crossed a Solari line. It had ended with a boot on his neck and a gun in his mouth, no hospitals, no reports. He needed someone off-grid, someone who owed him. "Hang on," he said, standing. "I know a guy." Lyra's voice was barely a breath. "They'll hunt me. Not if we move fast." He checked the hallway through, the crack of the door. Empty. Neon dripped across wet walls. Outside, like spilled chemicals, he grabbed an old blanket and wrapped her in it. She trembled but didn't fight as he lifted her again. Her skin was hot through the cloth. Each step made her glow brighter, faint pulses reflecting off the metal walls. He descended the narrow stairwell, boots echoing. The building groaned in the wind. From the top floor, a door slammed and someone shouted in alien dialect. He kept his head down and slipped out into the alley. Rain hit him again, heavy and cold. The street smelled of ozone and oil. Hollow ads flickered overhead, smiling aliens selling things humans couldn't afford. Jaxon ducked under a dripping awning and headed east toward the old industrial belt. His contact lived there. Dr. Mirren, a disgraced xenobiologist turned underground medic. She worked on those the city wanted forgotten. Lightning flashed. Thunder rolled like falling metal. A patrol drone whirred past, scanning the street. Jaxon pressed himself into a wall, holding Lyra tight. Her body glowed softly through the blanket. He whispered, "Please don't light up right now." The drone paused. Its red sensor eye lingered. Jaxon held his breath. Then a car alarm went off down the block. The drone turned and flew away. Jaxon exhaled hard. "Thank you, whoever owns that junk car." Lyra stirred weakly. "You afraid?" He gave a small laugh. "Every damn day." Her eyes blinked open again, catching light from the neon signs. "Then why help me?" He looked down at her. Her face was bruised and cut. But under the damage there was something haunting. Not beauty exactly. Something alive that shouldn't have survived this long in a place like Orion Sprawl. "Because somebody should," he said simply. They reached a cracked maintenance tunnel. He kicked open a rusted hatch and stepped into darkness. The hum of city life faded, replaced by dripping water and the distant buzz of old transformers. The deeper they went, the hotter the air became. Lyra's glow lit the way. Myron's clinic was hidden behind an abandoned water plant. Jaxon pounded the metal door with his fist. 3 quick hits, pause, then 2 more. A small camera clicked on. A rough voice came through the speaker. "Reed, you look half dead." "Not me," Jaxon said. "Got a patient. Needs help." The door slid open just enough for him to slip inside. Dr. Myron looked older. her cybernetic eye spinning with a faint whir as it focused on the bundle in his arms. What the hell is that? She's Solari, Jaxon said. Exiled, poisoned. You're the only one I trust. Myron's eyebrows rose. You bring me a void brand and call it trust? She shook her head but gestured him in. Lay her here fast. He placed Lyra on the cold metal table. Her glow dimmed again. Myron scanned her with a handheld device. The readout glowed red. Damn, Myron muttered. They dosed her with active filaments. She's got less than a day before it reaches her lungs. Can you fix it? I can try. Jaxon leaned against the wall, rain still dripping from his hair. Try fast. Myron prepared syringes, muttering about old Solari experiments and forbidden nanotech. Jaxon watched as she injected something silver into Lyra's neck. The glow under her skin flared bright white for an instant, then softened to a steady blue. Myron sighed. That should slow it down. But if you're smart, kid, you'll walk away now. Whoever did this will come looking. Jaxon looked at Lyra, at the faint rise and fall of her chest, and shook his head. They can look all they want. Outside, thunder cracked again, rolling across the city like the start of a war. Dr. Myron's clinic was more machine than room. Pipes snaked through the ceiling. The walls were patched with scrap metal. Lights buzzed and flickered, running on recycled power cells that hummed like angry bees. A cracked mirror hung above a rust-stained sink. Everything smelled of disinfectant, oil, and fear. Jaxon Reed stood near the door, dripping rainwater onto the metal floor. He felt out of place here, a soldier among ghosts. Across the room, Lyra lay on the med table, her body covered with a thin emergency blanket. Her faint glow painted soft blue waves on the ceiling. Dr. Myron moved fast but careful, her hand steady despite the years etched into her face. Her cybernetic eye adjusted brightness levels, scanning Lyra's wounds and pulling data streams into the holographic screen beside her. She's lucky you found her, Myron said without looking up. Voidbrand isn't just punishment. It's performance art. The Solari like to make their cruelty glow in the dark. Jaxon clenched his fists. They call that justice? They call it order, Myron replied. And order is their favorite drug. The doctor inserted a small probe into Lyra's arm. A soft click, then a faint hiss. The toxin's nano-based, she explained. It burns the nerves first, then the lungs. Designed to kill slowly so the body becomes a message. Can you stop it? Jaxon asked. I can slow it. Maybe stop it if the dose wasn't full. Jaxon rubbed his neck, thinking. They left her in public. Like trash. With a sign that said claim at will. Myron paused for a moment. Her eye flickered red. Then they meant for her to die seen. That's worse than trash. That's theater. Jaxon said nothing. His stomach turned. He'd seen wars, bombings, executions, but something about this was smaller and colder. No loud heroics, no explosions. Just one person left to fade away because her people said so. A faint sound broke his thoughts. A gasp. Lyra's eyes opened again. The blackness in them shimmered faintly like the reflection of distant stars. She looked at the doctor, then at Jaxon. Where are we? She whispered. Safe, Jaxon said, stepping closer. For now, Myron frowned. Don't promise what you can't give, soldier. Safety doesn't live in this city. Lyra blinked slowly, her pupils dilating. You saved me, why? Jaxon shrugged, unsure what to say. Didn't seem right leaving you there. Lyra's lips parted in something like surprise. Among my people, no one helps the marked. You risked your life. Then your people are idiots, Jaxon muttered. Dr. Myron smirked faintly. Careful, hero. You're insulting a whole empire. Lyra tried to sit up but groaned, clutching her side. Myron pressed a hand to her shoulder. Easy. You're still burning on the inside. Let the serum work. I can't stay here, Lyra said weakly. The wardens. They'll track me. Wardens, Jaxon asked. Enforcers of purity, she answered, voice trembling. They will come, Myron sighed. She's not wrong. I've heard the stories. Once the Solari brand someone void, their blood carries a signal. A nano-frequency that their scanners can detect. If she's in the city, they'll find her within a day. Then we leave, Jaxon said. Myron turned, her face sharp. And go where? Every checkpoint scans for human and alien IDs. You'll never make it off-world with her glowing like that. Jaxon pulled a small data chip from his jacket pocket and dropped it on the table. You still owe me for the haul I brought you last year. Mit supplies. I want a route, an old one. Something unregistered. Myron narrowed her eyes. You're serious? I'm done running deliveries for cowards. But I'll run this one. Lyra's hand trembled as she reached for him. You will die helping me? Maybe, Jaxon said, but I'll do it standing. For the first time she smiled, faint, but real. The glow under her skin brightened slightly like dawn trapped beneath glass. A warning alarm beeped from Mirren's desk. She turned fast, scanning the holographic feed. Damn it! What? Jaxon stepped closer. Security ping. Someone picked up an unregistered heat signature in this district, probably from your walk here. Patrols? Worse, Mirren said grimly. Private hunters. Korga's men. You really pissed off the wrong client, Reed. Jaxon felt a cold drop of dread slide down his spine. Korga, he runs with the Vex Syndicate. They don't take missed deliveries lightly. Well, Myron said dryly, maybe they'll fight over who gets to kill you first. The aliens or the gangsters. Lyra sat up straighter, clutching the blanket. I will not let you die for me. Relax, Jaxon said, checking the charge on his old sidearm. Dying's not in the plan. Never is, he looked at Myron. You got an exit? She nodded toward a trapdoor in the corner. Maintenance tunnel. Leads to the lower flood pipes. Not clean, but hidden. Good. Prep whatever she needs to walk. Myron handed him a small vial and injector. Antitoxin dose. 2 hours between shots. Don't lose it. Lyra swung her legs off the table. The glow from her skin reflected on the floor, soft but steady now. She met Jackson's eyes and said quietly, You could have left me. I could have, he agreed, but I didn't. They locked eyes for a moment that felt longer than it was. Outside, thunder rolled across the metal roofs. Sirens began to echo through the industrial valley, thin, sharp, and getting closer. Mirren shut off the lights. Go, she said. And Jaxon, don't come back here. You bring storms, he nodded once. Storms clean the air. Then he lifted Lyra's arm over his shoulder and led her through the trapdoor, vanishing into the tunnels below as red lights began flashing across the skyline. Somewhere far above, the hunt had begun. The tunnels beneath Orion Sprawl were older than anyone remembered. They ran like veins under the city, forgotten routes once used for mining, then for smuggling, and now for survival. The air was thick and warm, filled with the smell of rust, mold, and burnt circuits. Jaxon Reed led the way, flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. His boots splashed through shallow water that glowed faintly green from leaking coolant. Behind him, Lyra moved carefully, her faint blue glow reflecting off the wet walls like drifting starlight. Keep close, Jaxon said without turning around. These tunnels go on forever. Lose me for 2 minutes and you'll be walking in circles till the next century. I'm right behind you, she replied softly. Her voice echoed strangely, doubled by the metal around them. They passed broken machines half buried in dust, ancient drone husks, cracked fuel tanks, and signs in dead languages. The tunnels groaned with each distant tremor from the city above. How far? Lyra asked. 2 kilometers, Jaxon said. If the map Dr. Mirren gave me is right, it leads to the outer floodgates. After that, we hit the lower industrial ring. Fewer cameras, fewer patrols. Lyra's breath came unevenly. The toxin was still in her system. Every few minutes her glow would flicker, her body trembling with pain. Jaxon slowed his pace each time, pretending to check his tracker. He didn't want her to see the worry on his face. Rest, he said finally. 5 minutes, they stopped near a rusted support beam. Jaxon sat on an overturned crate, reloading the battery in his blaster. Lyra sank to the floor, wrapping the blanket tighter around her shoulders. After a long silence, she spoke. You're not like the others. What others? Humans, she said. The ones in the higher sectors. They walk past us like ghosts. No eyes, no heart. But you, she hesitated. You see things, Jaxon gave a quiet laugh. Seeing things is my problem. I've been trying to stop for years. Lyra tilted her head, confused. You speak in puzzles. It's called sarcasm, he said, smirking. She studied him curiously. A strange form of humor. Yeah, well, it's what keeps us alive. For a moment, the only sound was dripping water. Then a low mechanical hum reached them from deep in the tunnel. Jaxon froze, raising a hand for silence. Lyra's glow dimmed instinctively. What is it? Drones, he whispered. Search units. Someone's tracking us. He killed the flashlight and crouched low. The tunnel filled with rhythmic metallic thumps like heavy wings slicing air. Red beams of light flickered down the corridor ahead, scanning lasers. Jaxon grabbed Lyra's hand. This way. They moved fast and quiet through a side passage that sloped downward. Steam hissed from pipes overhead. The noise covered their steps, but not enough. The drone's sensors caught a trace of Lyra's heat signature. It followed. "Run!" Jaxon shouted. They sprinted through the dark, splashing through water and broken tiles. The drone's lights grew brighter behind them. Jaxon fired a quick shot over his shoulder. The blaster beam sparked off the tunnel wall, missing. The drone screeched, mechanical and cold. "Keep moving," he yelled. Lyra stumbled but didn't fall. Her glow flared bright enough to blind him for an instant. Then she raised her hand and her veins lit up like lightning. Jaxon shouted, "What are you?" The glow burst outward in a pulse of blue light. The tunnel filled with static. The drone's red beams flickered, then died. It crashed into the wall and dropped into the water with a hiss of steam. Lyra collapsed to her knees, breathing hard. The glow faded to a soft shimmer. Jaxon rushed to her. "You okay?" She nodded weakly. "Energy surge, instinct, I didn't mean to." "Remind me not to get on your bad side," he said, half smiling. She looked up at him, tired but amused. "You joke even now?" "Helps me forget I'm terrified." He helped her stand. They walked slower after that, both shaken. Jaxon kept glancing back, expecting another drone. None came, only silence and dripping water. After a long while, the tunnel widened into a massive underground chamber. It was filled with forgotten machinery and a soft mist that glowed under Lyra's light. At the far end stood a cracked metal door with faded letters, "Stonefall Maintenance Sector." "This is it," Jaxon said. "If we can get through that door, we'll be outside the patrol grid." Lyra touched the surface of the door. Her skin glowed brighter where her fingers met the metal. Sparks danced along the seams. "The lock is old," she murmured. "I can open it." A faint hum filled the chamber. The door shuddered, then slowly creaked open. A gust of cool air rushed in, carrying the scent of dust and ozone. Beyond the door stretched a massive industrial valley lit by weak sunrise. Towers leaned like broken teeth against the horizon. Lyra looked at it, awe in her eyes. "The world feels bigger down here." "Wait till you see it from the top," Jaxon said. "If we live long enough." He turned to her and gave a small nod. "We move at dawn. We find the Enclave. And if anyone tries to stop us..." Lyra finished his sentence softly, her glow rising again. "We stop them first." Jaxon smiled faintly. "You're learning fast." They stepped through the door together, into the thin morning light. Two fugitives walking out of the dark, unaware that a satellite high above had already marked their escape route in red. The hunt wasn't over. It was only beginning. The morning sky above the industrial valley looked like rust and smoke. Faint light filtered through the thick clouds, painting the metal ruins in dull orange. Jaxon Reed and Lyra stood at the edge of a crumbling walkway, staring down at a maze of pipes, catwalks, and broken towers. "Stonefall should be past those ridges," Jaxon said, pointing to the far side where the structures ended and the rocks began. If Mirren's map wasn't a death trap. Lyra shaded her eyes, her glow faint in daylight. "You trust her?" "I trust that she hates the Solari more than she hates me," he said. "That's good enough." They moved carefully across the skeletal remains of an old refinery. Below them, old conveyor belts groaned as the wind passed through. Jackson's boots clanged softly against the steel grating. Lyra walked barefoot. Her steps made no sound, but each print she left glowed faintly blue for a few seconds before fading. "You do that on purpose?" Jaxon asked. She looked down. "The light?" "No, it happens when I'm afraid." "Then try not to be," he said, scanning the horizon. "Fear gets us spotted." Her eyes flicked toward him. "And yet you're afraid all the time," he smirked. "Yeah, but I hide it better." For a moment, despite the danger, she smiled. Then a distant rumble cut through the air. Jaxon dropped to one knee, pulling her down beside him. "Engines," he whispered. A shadow moved across the refinery. A patrol skimmer, matte black hovering low, lights off. It drifted slowly, like a shark tasting the current. Jaxon pressed Lyra against a wall and whispered, "Don't glow. Whatever happens, stay still." She nodded, closing her eyes. Her light dimmed until she looked almost human. The skimmer passed overhead, its thrusters whining softly. A spotlight flicked on for an instant, scanning the catwalk. It swept within meters of their hiding place, then shifted away. Jaxon didn't breathe until the sound faded. Then he exhaled. They're tightening the grid. We need to move now. They climbed down through rusted ladders into the lower trenches where moss and metal merged. The air grew colder. The wind carried the faint hum of power lines. Why would humans live out here? Lyra asked as they moved through the maze of ruins. Jaxon jumped down onto a pipe and offered her his hand. Because nobody else wants to, and because freedom's cheap when you're willing to die for it. Freedom, she repeated softly. My people trade it for safety. That's why they fall apart, he said. They followed a narrow tunnel that opened onto a canyon of rock and steel. At the far end, half hidden behind slag piles, stood a small metallic outpost. Solar panels glittered weakly in the light. Guards watched from makeshift towers. Human faces, tired, wary, armed. Jaxon raised his hands slowly. Don't shoot! We're not here to cause trouble. Several rifles aimed at him. One of the guards shouted, Identify yourself. Name's Jaxon Reed, Dr. Myron sent me. Looking for Captain Ari Chen. A pause, then movement. From behind the barricade stepped a tall woman in combat armor patched with old flags. Her dark skin gleamed with sweat. Her silver hair cropped close to her head. Her eyes were sharp and cold as cut glass. I'm Chen, she said. And you're either very brave or very stupid walking here with that glow stick beside you. Lyra lowered her hood slightly, revealing her blue skin. A collective murmur rippled through the guards. She's Solari, one hissed. Exiled. Jaxon corrected quickly. Marked and hunted. We're looking for refuge. Chen studied them both. We don't harbor aliens. The Vire enforcement squads will bomb this place flat if they catch her here. Then maybe don't let them catch us. Jaxon shot back. The tension in the air tightened. Rifles lifted higher. Lyra stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. We seek no fight, only rest. Something in her tone made even the guards hesitate. Chen's eyes narrowed. You talk like a priest and bleed like a soldier. What are you? Lyra met her gaze. Someone who learned too late that obedience is not purity. Chen was silent for a long time. Then she turned. Lower your weapons. They're coming in, for now. Jaxon released a breath he didn't know he was holding. They were escorted through a narrow canyon that opened into Stonefall, the hidden enclave. It was a world carved out of stone and determination, humans living in old mining tunnels lit by salvaged lights. Children ran between stalls where traders sold recycled tech and food grown in hydroponic tanks. The air buzzed with life, rough but real. Lyra looked around in awe. Humans built this under the ground? Yeah, Jaxon said quietly. No one gives us a home. We build our own. Captain Chen led them to a metal building shaped like an old command post. Inside, several people sat around a half-functioning hollow table. They all looked up as Jaxon and Lyra entered. This is the council, Chen said. They'll decide if you stay or go. A bearded man leaned forward. You brought a Solari here? Exile, Jaxon corrected again, jaw tight. She was dying. I saved her. Then you brought her poison here too, another council member said coldly. Their laws will bring fire down on all of us. Lyra bowed her head. Then let me go. My curse should not follow you. Jaxon stepped between her and the council. You throw her out there and she's dead within an hour. And maybe we deserve the fire that follows. Silence filled the room. The council members exchanged uneasy glances. Captain Chen finally spoke. You'll both stay in the lower quarters until we decide. No contact with the settlers. No wandering. One mistake and you're gone. Jaxon nodded. Fair enough. As they left the chamber, Lyra looked up at him. You risked everything again. Why? He gave a tired smile. Guess I'm bad at giving up. She touched his hand gently, her glow faint but steady. Then maybe I should learn that from you. They walked deeper into the tunnels, unaware that eyes watched from the shadows, and that the first Solari scout drones had already locked onto the Enclave's coordinates. The storm they'd been running from was now coming for everyone. The first night in Stonefall was uneasy. The air in the underground enclave was heavy with dust and the hum of generators. Jaxon Reed sat on the edge of a narrow cot, half asleep, blaster within reach. Across the room, Lyra lay under a rough wool blanket, her soft glow pulsing faintly like a heartbeat against the stone walls. He couldn't sleep, not after the looks they'd gotten, the whispers, the way people stepped back when they saw her blue skin. Even here, among exiles and survivors, fear still ruled hearts. He sighed and rubbed his face. They're deciding whether to throw us out, he muttered. Lyra's eyes opened, catching the dim light. I heard them, she said softly. They fear what follows me. They should fear what made you, he replied. Not you. Before she could answer, a deep rumble shook the floor. Dust fell from the ceiling. The lights flickered once, twice, then turned red. Jaxon was on his feet instantly. That's not an earthquake. The alarm began to wail. He yanked the door open. Outside, people ran through the corridor shouting. Smoke rolled down the tunnel, carrying the scent of burning metal. Lyra appeared beside him, her glow brightening with worry. What is happening? Jaxon grabbed a passing guard. Report? The man's eyes were wide. Attack drones. Vex Syndicate. They followed your trail here, Jaxon swore under his breath. Korga. The crime lord must have tracked his stolen delivery signal. All the way to Stonefall, he turned to Lyra. Stay close, they ran through the tunnels toward the outer gates. The enclave shook again as an explosion tore through one of the access shafts. Fire roared. Metal screamed. Captain Chen was already there, barking orders to the guards. Seal the western tunnel. Move the civilians below the hydro cells. Her eyes met Jackson's as he and Lyra approached. Your friends brought hell to my doorstep, Reed. You think I wanted this? Jaxon snapped back. We can fight them or die arguing. Chen glared at him for a moment, then threw him a rifle. Then fight. The next few minutes blurred into chaos. Jaxon took cover behind a support pillar and fired at the advancing drones, sleek black spheres that fired plasma bolts. The air filled with red light and the smell of ozone. Lyra crouched beside him, her hands trembling. I can disrupt them, she said. How? My light. It confuses their sensors, but it burns me when I push it too far. Jaxon looked at her, saw the determination in her eyes. Do it. I'll cover you. She stepped into the open, her glow intensifying until it filled the tunnel like dawn breaking underground. The drones' scanners flickered. Their targeting systems failed. Jaxon took the chance, firing shot after shot until the nearest ones exploded. Lyra stumbled, but stayed standing. More are coming, she warned. A new sound echoed. Heavy footsteps, not mechanical. From the smoke emerged armored figures with glowing red visors, human mercenaries under Korga's command. The leader's voice was cold. Hand over the Void brand, and maybe the rest of you live. Chen spat. Over my dead body. Easiest offer I've had all day, Jaxon muttered. He threw a grenade, diving back behind cover. The blast lit the tunnel in orange fire. The mercenaries fell back. Chen's soldiers pushed forward, shouting. For a moment it looked like Stonefall might hold. Then the ceiling cracked. A massive drone, larger than a transport truck, crashed through, crushing the barricade. Its cannon swiveled toward them. Jaxon shouted, Down! The blast hit, flinging him across the floor. His ears rang. He tried to stand, but pain screamed through his ribs. Smoke filled the corridor. Through the haze, he saw Lyra. She was on her knees, blood glowing faintly beneath her skin. But her eyes burned with fury. She pressed her hands to the ground. The faint lines on her arms lit up like constellations. Energy surged from her body into the floor. The metal under the drone twisted, warped, then exploded upward, tearing it apart from within. The force threw her backward. Jaxon caught her before she hit the ground. Her breathing was shallow. You're insane, he said. Alive, she whispered with a faint smile. When the smoke cleared, the mercenaries were gone, or dead. The Enclave's defenders stood among rubble in silence. Chen lowered her weapon and looked at Lyra, this alien who had just saved them. For the first time, her voice softened. You might have just saved every soul in Stonefall. Lyra's glow dimmed. Then maybe they'll stop seeing me as a curse. Chen looked at Jaxon. You two need to leave before more come. I can't protect you from what's next. Jaxon nodded slowly. You're right. But we can protect each other. Lyra leaned against him, exhausted. Where will we go? Somewhere higher, Jaxon said. Where their scanners can't reach. Captain Chen pressed a small data chip into his hand. Take this. Encrypted route to the mountains. Old mining base. Humans who left before we built Stonefall. They might take you in. Jaxon pocketed it. Thank you. Chen gave a tight nod. Don't thank me yet. You'll be hunted by both sides now. He smiled grimly. Wouldn't be the first time. As they disappeared into the smoke-filled tunnels, the survivors of Stonefall began rebuilding around the flames. Some whispered prayers, others whispered hope, and deep in the shadows one broken drone flickered to life long enough to transmit a signal, a final image of Lyra's glowing face, to the orbiting Solari wardens. Above the planet, a fleet shifted course. The real storm was coming. The wind howled through the mountain pass as Jaxon Reed and Lyra climbed higher into the jagged cliffs. Night was falling, and the clouds glowed faintly red from the fires below. The city they'd left behind, Orion, Sprawl, the pit that had once swallowed them, was now burning in the distance. Each step was a battle. The path was narrow and slick with frost. The air thinned with every breath. Jackson's muscles screamed, but he kept moving, guiding Lyra with one arm. Her glow was faint now, flickering like a dying star. The void brand toxin hadn't vanished. It slept inside her veins, waiting. He didn't tell her that he could feel her growing weaker. She didn't tell him that she already knew. At last they reached the plateau. A half-collapsed mining station stood there, forgotten by the galaxy. Wind turbines creaked in the dark, their blades frozen in rust. Jaxon dropped his pack with a grunt. We'll rest here. Lyra sank onto a broken crate, her breathing shallow. You should leave me. Not a chance, he said. She looked at him, her eyes reflecting the dim fire he'd built from scavenged wires and insulation foam. You've already lost everything because of me. Your city, your people's trust. I didn't lose anything worth keeping, Jaxon replied. And I found something I never thought I would. Her glow brightened just a little. And what is that? Someone who reminds me what being human means. Silence fell between them, heavy but warm. Outside, the wind moaned through the metal bones of the station. Then far above, the stars blinked and moved. Lyra stiffened. They found us. Jaxon looked up. 3 Solari ships descended through the atmosphere, engines screaming against the cold night. Their hulls gleamed like liquid glass. He stood, gripping his blaster. How fast can you move? Not fast enough. The first ship's spotlight cut across the mountain, painting the world in white. A voice echoed through the air, metallic and cold. Void brand, Year 7 Lyra. You are sentenced to termination. The human with you will be purged for interference. Jaxon raised his weapon. Come and try. The first drop pod hit the ground like thunder. 6 Solari wardens emerged, tall, armored, faceless. Their energy spears crackled. Jaxon fired first. Plasma bolts flashed, striking armor burning through air. He ducked behind a fallen beam, returning fire as the wardens advanced in perfect formation. One spear blast tore through the crate where Lyra had been sitting. She rolled aside, clutching her arm as sparks rained down. Jaxon! He didn't look back. Stay down! A blast sent him tumbling. His blaster flew from his hand. He hit the ground hard, air knocked from his lungs. The warden leader strode forward, weapon raised. You protected impurity. You become impurity. Jaxon spat blood and grinned. Funny. You sound like my old commander. Before the spear could fall, Lyra screamed, not in fear, but fury. Her entire body ignited with light. Not the soft glow of before, but blinding white fire. The symbols beneath her skin flared, rewriting themselves. The mountain seemed to breathe with her. The wardens froze. Their armor scanners flickered, overloading from the radiation surge. Jaxon shielded his eyes. Lyra, stop, you'll kill yourself. Her voice echoed through the storm of light. I am not what they made me. She rose into the air, her hair flowing like molten silver. The voidbrand mark on her arm burned away, erased by her own energy. The wardens fired as one. The beams hit her, but instead of tearing through, They bent, splitting around her like light around glass. She raised her hands and the energy around her cracked the ground. The blast that followed wasn't sound. It was silence made visible. It threw the wardens backward, disintegrating armor, shattering stone. The ships above tilted, losing balance. One exploded mid-air, the rest turned away, retreating through the clouds. When the light faded, Lyra fell. Jaxon caught her before she hit the ground. Her skin was cold now, her glow fading to a soft blue. "Lyra," he whispered. "Hey, stay with me. You did it. You're free." She smiled weakly. "Free? Yes, but not from time." "Don't say that." Her hand lifted to his cheek. "You showed me mercy. In your world, that is strength." "Don't you dare make this a goodbye," he said, voice cracking. Her eyes shimmered like dying stars. "Goodbyes are only for those who forget." Then her glow dimmed completely, fading into darkness. Jaxon sat there for a long time, holding her against the wind. The fires below had gone out. The night was quiet again. When dawn came, the sunlight touched the mountain peak, turning the snow gold. He buried her there, under a cairn of stone, marking the grave with her broken pendant. He didn't cry, not because he wasn't sad, but because grief had turned into something else. Something sharper. Purpose. Later that day, as he stood overlooking the horizon, a faint shimmer flickered on his wrist. His military tattoo, long inert, now glowed faintly blue, the same shade as Lyra's light. He stared at it in silence. Then he smiled. "Guess you're still here." Behind him, the horizon burned again, not with war, but with hope. Humans and exiled Solari ships began to gather, meeting halfway between sky and earth. A fragile alliance born from one impossible act of compassion. Jaxon turned toward the rising sun. "Let's finish what you started," he said softly, and walked down the mountain,